What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. Today we're here to do the breakdown and preparation video for the upcoming treasure map against Wyper. Now remember, there are a lot of changes that are happening with this treasure map in terms of the points and the treasure birds and stuff like that. It's going to be an interesting one, and obviously this is a bit of a testing of the waters to see how this new change will be for the better or for the worse for the One Piece Treasure Cruise community. Before we get into the breakdown of each of these fights though, I do want to actually bring your attention to what this character actually does, the character that we're all farming for, being Wyper, who is a quick shooter free spirit. His captain ability is a 4 times attack to shooter free spirit with a 1.2 health boost, and then when you fall below 30% as a captain, he automatically launches his special. His special ability will go ahead and reduce either favorable or unfavorable slot effects for 5 turns, which is kind of interesting. The previous treasure map with Who's Who also did the same thing. Removes all type slots and then deals quick damage to one target based on the number of slots that you have removed. You know, we've seen this before in a lot of specials. And then changes all slots into tandem slots, which is really cool. And then for shooter and free spirit, makes quick recovery and tandem slots matching for 3 turns, and then doubles the color affinity of shooter free spirit for 2 turns. Furthermore, we'll go ahead and give a 0.2 times multiplier boost to any attack or orb boost launched by a shooter or free spirit character for 1 turn. So realistically, you use this character first, and then any other attack or orb boost from a free spirit or shooter will be buffed. It's an interesting special, but I don't think this character is going to see a lot of play, unfortunately. It's just not a great effect. Potentially in other treasure maps he might be pretty good. The crewmate ability is just some stat boost. It does make strength slots matching for shooter free spirit. You don't see strength slots counted as matching that often as a crewmate ability, so that's very, very good. And then he does have Barrier Pierce, which is good because he's a shooter character, so good synergy. But once again, it's another quick shooter with barrier penetration. It would be nice if we got another shooter that was not a quick unit, because we've been getting a lot of those recently. Unfortunately, the support doesn't do anything, and I mean, to be honest, I'm not going to go through his rumble stuff. It's pretty bad. But that's the breakdown of Wyper, a pretty underwhelming treasure map unit if I do say so myself. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the fight. So the first of the fights we'll talk about is going to be against Conis. Now, Conis will go ahead and give a cooldown to all characters, as well as charging the versus effect for all characters by 10, which is really strong. So any versus unit we can use, you'll be able to use their versus effect really quickly. So you could do some really neat shenanigans with that, actually. It's kind of cool. But for Battle 3, you get a full board of block slots, 5 turns of burn, there is a delay immunity, and then 5 turns of both damage reduction and also damage threshold. When you kill the boss, they're going to recover to 300,000 HP all the time, so there's no HP threshold. So, you know, obviously the deeper you go in the treasure map, the higher the HP the boss has, but they'll always revive at 300,000, and they will do 30,000 damage to the crew. So the way that we're getting around it is this Big Mom character is really strong because she essentially deals with most of the stuff on this fight. She gets rid of the rainbow shield and the threshold by 5, and then if you have a driven or a powerhouse captain, you get all of your block slots changed into matching. You also get a chain lock, which is, it's fine, it's not the end of the world, but the reason for that is because we can use Sugar as our captain here. So it is cool that she's boosted because she will be receiving a super evolution. Well, it appears to be that she will be receiving a super evolution in the upcoming events. But the thing about it is that you can use her because she is a driven captain, so she procs the ability of the Big Mom to get the block slots changed into matching. Her special changing all of the characters into toy bears, and the cool thing about it is that when you attack and all of the toy bears attack, they'll attack for you and they don't hit perfects. They hit a new type of like a hobby tap timing, so the burn doesn't actually affect Sugar at all. And then of course on the revive, it doesn't really matter. We can go ahead and use the special of Kuma to give color affinity. We can use Brook for a conditional boost, and then obviously with the Jinbei support, both the Zora and the Brook will have their slots locked, so you can keep it for multiple turns. It's a pretty straightforward team, should get the job done. The second fight against Ganfor, cooldown reduction and versus effect reduction for striker, driven and cerebral characters. Now with this fight, ideally we're going to be using versus Kaido as the friend captain. If you don't have your own versus Kaido or Yamato, then you want to be using a friend captain one for this fight. It makes things a lot easier. As for battle 3, there's 5 turns of a really bad attack up effect, so obviously Kaido can remove that. There's going to be 3 turns of special bind on the left hand side, which we have the Black Maria to deal with, and then there's going to be 3 turns of special reverse on the right hand side, which you don't really have to deal with if you're using a Kaido friend captain, because Kaido reverses all of your character's cooldowns, so it makes it very, very easy. But there is 6 turns of Rainbow Shield, so ideally you go ahead and use Black Maria first. Black Maria has a really cool effect. That is not Black Maria, that is Uta. Black Maria has a cool effect where you want to use her special first when you reach this stage, because she will remove the special bind for the crew and also remove 5 turns of the Rainbow Shield. After using the Kaido special, it'll charge everyone's specials, you'll get rid of most of the effects, and then of course there will still be 1 turn of Rainbow Shield, so you'll need to remove that. I have the, what's it called? What's her name? I can't remember her name. Komurosaki. We have Komurosaki, which can remove Rainbow Shield, but literally any character that removes at least 1 turn of Rainbow Shield, even through a support, would help you here, because it is 6 turn of percent damage reduction for some reason. I don't know why it's 6 turns. Doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. And then Kaido Special basically deals with all the damage boosting effects. The third Battle Rush boss is against Raki, and she gives cooldown reduction to Strength, Dex, and Psi characters. And with this fight, it's pretty straightforward once again. We're going to be using Roger as our captain because he can resist all of the turns of despair. Alternatively, you don't need to use Roger, you could just use Double Chopper as the captain. Both Chopper specials will remove all the debuffs, and then the rest of your crew can be dedicated to boosting your damage through getting matching slots, boosting attack, boosting orbs, boosting color affinity, etc. But Chopper basically deals with everything here, but you need multiple Choppers in order to remove all of the debuffs, unfortunately. So ideally use Double Chopper, but if you use, Roger, you can get rid of the despair completely. You can use the Chopper special to get rid of the attack down and the remove SFX, but you will need an additional attack down remover, which the new Sanji from the New Year's Sugo Fest will help you do that. For this team specifically, we're using Colosseum Ace on the team to trigger the super type of Roger to give us a full board of matching slots. Roger is an attack booster, Zoro is an orb booster. It seems pretty straightforward. The last of the Battle Rush bosses is versus Luffy. Now for this team composition, we are ideally using the friend captain of versus Yamato, and the reason for that is because Yamato has a captain ability that will remove 10 turns of despair for the crew. Alternatively, you could use Goldie Roger here as well. I think Yamato is probably a better call here. So Yamato plus the support of Corazon attached to Law and Kid will remove all 15 turns of the despair that were inflicted with on the last stage. Another thing as well is that on stage 2 we can use the special of Law and Kid, which will just wave clear that stage completely, but it will also give us 3 turns of a chain boundary, so that when we reach the last stage we don't have to worry about the chain boundary or the chain lock that is given to us, because there is also attack down based on your chain multiplier. You need your chain multiplier to exceed 2.2 in order to start doing damage, which is why they also suggest to use the Judge on this team. Now remember, if you do use Law and Kid on stage 2, do not use Judge on stage 3, because that will remove your chain boundary, and you don't really want that to happen. So you could just go ahead and not do it on stage 2, wait for stage 3, use Judge special first, remove the bad chain lock that's inflicted to us, then use Law and Kid special. Either way you go about it, it's going to work relatively fine. The special ability of Yamato will give you all of the matching slots that you would require, as well as giving you a really good attack boosting effect. So to be honest, it's a pretty straightforward team, so long as you're able to use the versus Yamato as the friend captain for this fight, alongside Law and Kid. Okay, so now we get to the final boss versus Wyper. Now the final boss and the Intrusion fight are both very, very annoying fights. So here we have versus Wyper. Characters that receive cooldown here are Striker, Free Spirit, and Cerebral characters, as well as their versus effect gauge, which is cool. On Battle 2, there is going to be paralysis slots inflicted to the crew, and in order to remove paralysis slots, I believe if you use a special that removes paralysis, it should get rid of them. So that's why we have this Nami character on the crew. Her special will remove paralysis, which should change them into matching slots. The Luffy special will enable us to remove the Rainbow Shield and the Threshold, as well as giving us an attack boost for Battle 2. So that should make that stage pretty straightforward. Another thing that you can do is, because we are ideally using Nami, the New Year's Legend Nami, as the friend captain, you can use her special on this stage as well. So you can use both friend captain Nami, your own Nami, and then Luffy special and that will be able to clear this stage pretty straightforward. If you do opt to use treasure map Sanji like I do with this recommended team, then you can also use that on this stage as well if you want to. Now, when you reach the final battle, there is 10 turns of paralysis inflicted to the whole team, and Nami as a captain will remove all that paralysis and fully charge her special again, so you can use Nami twice in the same run. There is 5 turns of Rainbow Shield, 3 turns of Threshold, 10 turns of Resilience, which is a lot, but there's also 9 turns of defense up. Now, the way that I read this, it's defense up times 10,000. Now, I'm pretty sure this is a really low defensive increase, so ultimately they want you to use Legend Robin from the New Year's Sugo Fest. You cannot actually do a defense reduction here because the enemy has full immunity, and removing 9 turns of defense up is very difficult to do with the boosted list given to us. So ideally what you want to do is use the new Legend Robin. If you don't have that, then it's not the end of the world. I do think it's relatively okay to pierce it just with normal attacks, so long as you have enough damage to do so. Remember, because of the paralysis given to the crew, Nami's going to fully charge, and when I say fully charge, like legitimately, she's going to be fully charged. So when you use the special ability of Nami, you get a 2.5 chain boost and a 3000 base attack boost to Sai, Striker, and Free Spirit characters. So that's going to be really, really awesome. And plus, Nami's special does remove the Rainbow Shield, and her super class special will remove the Threshold. And then the Resilience, we can use the switch ability of the Akainu and Fujitora. Their switch ability will do a 7% health cut at the end of the turn for 1 turn, so that enables you to get around the Resilience because it is 10 turns. Even though the Legend Nami removes 7 turns of it, it's not going to remove all of it, which is why we need some type of end of turn damage special in order to actually get through it. So ultimately, should be able to get through this fight pretty comfortably with this team, so long as you have the New Year's Nami as a friend captain. And then we get to the Intrusion fight versus Eneru. Now, the thing about Eneru is that there are actually extra steps in this process, and what I mean by that is that even though on the Intrusion fight they list Battle 4 and Battle 5, there are actually gimmicks you have to take note of on Battle 2 and Battle 3. So on Battle 2, there is going to be defense up, which is why we have Frankie. Frankie will remove the 3 turns of defense up, and there is going to be Resilience on Battle 3. Now, with this team, we are opting to use the new boosted NL as the friend captain. If you do that, it will enable you to use his captain ability to get around Resilience. That's not going to be a problem. But then we can move on to stage 4. Now remember, characters that are Striker, Cerebral, and Free Spirit all receive cooldown here. If you're using NL as the captain, you will get cooldown, or not cooldown, but attack boost, should we say, for Strikers and Cerebrals. So building a team around Strikers and Cerebrals is going to be the best way forward here. Now on Battle 4, there is going to be bind inflicted to the top row, but it is only for 5 turns, so if you have any support that removes 2 turns of bind, like what we do here with Cat Viper attached to Chopper, you're going to be able to deal with that. There's going to be 3 turns of Rainbow Shield, which the Black Maria is able to do. Black Maria is a pretty decent captain here because she also boosts the attack of Striker and Cerebral, the exact same as the new treasure map booster Eneru. And then her special removes the Rainbow Shield and also gives you a color affinity boost. So she's going to be a pretty good option in this treasure map in partnership with that Eneru. And then the final stage, there's going to be 9 turns of Despair and Bind to the captains. And also one of your captains is going to be switched with one of the characters on the bottom row. So we're using Chopper in the middle row here because his special will remove all turns of the Bind and Despair for us. There is going to be Resilience once again, but ultimately it's not going to be the end of the world because we can just go ahead and have NL as our friend captain deal with the Resilience. Now there is an interrupt for orb boosting effects. Luckily, both of these captains, both of the units on the bottom row here, if they're switched into the captain, can give you an orb boost no matter what. Because, you know, if you have Sugar become the captain, her super class or super type can give you an orb boost. But ultimately, you would use Uta special, which can give you her turn progress effect, which gives you an attack and an orb boost to Shooter and Cerebral characters, which the whole team is a Cerebral team, especially with NL friend captain, except for the Frankie, which is not the end of the world. You know, it doesn't matter that one unit doesn't receive all of the buffs. But interestingly, with the friend captain NL, this should actually deal with most of the stuff in this quest. I mean, ultimately as well, you could use the Uta special on stage 3, so stage 3, 4, and 5, you get a boost the whole way through. That's probably the best way forward to actually deal with it. If you don't have your own legend Uta, then Uta would have to be replaced with like an attack boosting effect, and then you won't have an attack and an all boost on the previous stages. But of course, you do have NL as your captain, which should be able to deal with a lot of the stuff on this quest anyways. So even though this team looks kind of janky, I think it actually should work pretty well. And then of course you've got Sugar, which after you activate all of your buffs, you can use Sugar to get the most out of that too. So I think this is a really, really interesting team, and hopefully it works out as I think it should. It's not the biggest boost in the world either, but of course if we're building like quote-unquote accessible teams, you got to do what you got to do. With all of that being said, that is going to wrap it up from me. Thank you so much for watching the video. I really hope that this video helps you guys out in the upcoming treasure map versus Wyper. I'll be uploading my own teams later on after I do my treasure map polls. Hopefully you guys do enjoy this video today, and if you guys do enjoy it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all of the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.